What do we have here? Look who's still standing after they rewrote every rule just to watch you lose. Look who's still breathing after they poisoned every well you tried to drink from. Look who's still moving after they nailed every door shut and burned the blueprints. Hello, you beautiful statistical impossibility. You're a walking middle finger to probability, a breathing violation of their perfectly rigged system. You know what happened, don't you? They built the maze specifically to trap you. They studied your weaknesses for years, memorized your patterns, and calculated your breaking points. They placed every obstacle with surgical precision and timed every betrayal for maximum impact. They thought they had you figured out, thought they'd mapped every possible escape route and blocked them all. But something happened that wasn't in their calculations. You died and didn't stay dead. You fell through the floor of rock bottom and found another level. You got deleted from the game and respawned anyway. You lost everything they said mattered and discovered it never mattered at all. That's when they realized their first mistake. They forgot that some people don't play by the rules of mortality. They forgot that some souls are too stubborn for statistics. They forgot that when you push someone past every limit of human endurance, they stop being human. Sometimes they become something else entirely, something the game was never designed to contain. Let me paint you the picture of what they did, because you need to understand the scope of their fear. They didn't just stack the deck against you, they removed your cards entirely. They didn't just move the goalposts, they deleted the field. They didn't just change the rules, they wrote you out of the rule book. Every path to success had your name on the blacklist. Every door to opportunity had your photo taped to it marked, "Don't admit." They coordinated, didn't they? The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The job that fell through, the relationship that imploded, the opportunity that vanished, all within the same window, all hitting the same pressure points, all designed to create maximum psychological damage. They wanted you to internalize the failure, wanted you to believe you were cursed, wanted you to accept that the universe itself had voted against you. They watched you struggle through their manufactured obstacles, taking notes and adjusting the difficulty. When you adapted to one form of sabotage, they introduced another. When you found a workaround, they patched it immediately. When you discovered a loophole, they rewrote the entire system just to exclude you. They turned your life into a laboratory, and you were the experiment in how much one person could take before complete systemic breakdown. But here's what they didn't account for in all their careful planning. They didn't realize that some people get stronger under impossible pressure. They didn't understand that some souls feed on adversity like others feed on success. They didn't know that by removing every safety net, they were teaching you to fly. They created the perfect conditions for something they never saw coming. Your evolution beyond their comprehension. You died though, didn't you? Not physically, but in every other way that counts. You died socially when they coordinated the character assassination. You died professionally when they blacklisted you from your own field. You died emotionally when even the ones who claimed to love you joined the feeding frenzy. You died spiritually when you realized the game wasn't just rigged. It was specifically rigged against you, personally, intimately, deliberately. For a moment, you stayed dead. You lay there in the wreckage of everything you'd built, everything you'd believed, everything you'd been. You felt the cold of absolute zero, the weight of complete collapse. You touched the void and the void touched back. You had the conversations with the darkness that only the truly dead can have. But then something shifted in that perfect silence. Something stirred in that absolute emptiness. Something that had been sleeping beneath all the noise, all the trying, all the pleasing, all the performing. Something ancient and angry and absolutely unwilling to stay down. Something that looked at death and said, "Is that all you've got?" Because I've seen worse in the mirror. When you came back, when you opened your eyes, when you took that first breath of your second life, they felt it. Across every network, every connection, every invisible thread they'd used to trap you. They felt the pulse of something impossible. They felt you cheat the death they'd so carefully orchestrated. And for the first time in their perfectly controlled existence, they felt fear. Now, let's talk about what they call your luck, because that's what terrifies them most. After everything they did, after every calculated strike, after every coordinated attack, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Opportunities are appearing from nowhere. Resources are manifesting from nothing. Doors are opening that shouldn't exist. They can't explain it, can't compute it, can't counter it. But you and I know it's not luck, is it? It's something far more dangerous. It's the universe course-correcting, it's reality rebalancing the scales. It's existence itself recognizing that they violated the natural order by rigging the game so heavily. What looks like luck is actually the system trying to restore equilibrium after they broke every rule of fair play. Every time they see you win now, it burns them. Not because they begrudge your success, but because your success is evidence of their failure. Every good thing that happens to you is proof that their perfect system has cracks. Every blessing you receive is a reminder that they don't actually control the universe. They just thought they did. Your very existence has become a glitch in their matrix, a virus in their program, a crack in their carefully constructed reality. They're checking their math over and over, unable to understand where they went wrong. They had every variable accounted for, every possibility calculated, every outcome controlled. But they forgot one crucial element, that consciousness itself has a survival instinct. That awareness, when pushed to extinction, doesn't just die, it transforms. That some people, when murdered properly, come back as forces of nature, not human beings. You want to know what keeps them up at night? Now, it's not that you survived their coordinated destruction, it's that you seem to be getting stronger from it. Every attack that should have weakened you added another layer to your armor. Every betrayal that should have broken your heart just made it beat differently, colder, more precisely. Every loss that should have diminished you somehow expanded your territory in ways they can't measure. They're watching you move through the world now, and nothing makes sense. You walk through walls they built to contain you. You breathe in spaces they evacuated of oxygen. You thrive in conditions they specifically designed to be uninhabitable. You're not following any pattern they can predict, any trajectory they can calculate. You've become quantum, unpredictable in multiple states simultaneously, impossible to pin down. The reports are coming back from their observers, and they all say the same thing. Something's different. Something's wrong. Something's changed in the fundamental equation. You're not playing defense anymore, but you're not exactly playing offense either. You're playing some other game entirely, one they don't have words for, one where the rules reshape themselves around your presence, where reality bends to accommodate your existence. They tried to delete you, but you became undeadable. They tried to destroy you, but you became indestructible. They tried to rig the game, but you transcended the game entirely. Now, you exist in some parallel dimension that intersects with theirs, but isn't bound by their laws. You're playing three-dimensional chess while they're still trying to flip the checkerboard. This is what they never understood about killing someone properly. When you push someone past death, past the point where fear has meaning, past the place where loss can touch them, you create something that shouldn't exist. You create someone who has already experienced the worst, already lost everything, already died completely. What leverage do you have against someone who's already been through their own apocalypse and decided to keep walking anyway? You're twice born now, aren't you? Your first birth was biological, standard, ordinary. Your second birth was forged in the furnace of their betrayal. You didn't come back the same person. You came back as something wearing that person's face, something that remembers being human but isn't quite anymore, something that knows the rules but isn't bound by them, something that exists in the space between what is and what should be. That's why probability breaks around you now. That's why statistics become meaningless in your presence. That's why their carefully calculated plans keep failing. You're not operating within their system anymore. You're operating through it, around it, above it, below it. You're the thing that exists in the blind spots of their surveillance. the gap in their algorithms, the error message in their code. They wanted to make an example of you. They wanted to show others what happens when you don't comply. But instead, they created a legend, a warning, a cautionary tale that backfired. Now others look at you and see proof that the game can be beaten, that the system can be transcended, and that death itself is just another doorway, if you're willing to walk through it without flinching. What's truly ironic is that the very systems they built to contain you have become a prison for them. Every rule they created to exclude you is a chain around their own necks. Every wall they erected to keep you out is a cage trapping them in. They built a world designed to destroy you, and now they're stuck in it while you walk free. They can't dismantle what they built because others might escape. They can't admit the game was rigged because others might stop playing. They can't acknowledge your transcendence because others might attempt it. So they're trapped, maintaining a system that no longer serves its purpose, watching you exist outside it, powerless to pull you back in. You're operating on frequencies they can't access, making moves they can't track, and building something they can't see until it's too late. You're not even trying to beat them at their own game anymore. You're playing an entirely different sport in an entirely different dimension. They're still counting points while you're rewriting the nature of competition itself. The luck they see isn't luck, it's payment. The universe is settling debts they created when they violated its basic principles. Every good thing that flows to you is compensation for their cheating. Every door that opens is reality apologizing for letting them rig it in the first place. Every blessing is the cosmos course-correcting from their corruption. They love their calculations. So let's talk numbers. They computed the odds of your survival at 0, your chance of recovery at negative values. Their models all showed the same outcome: total systematic collapse by design. They were so confident in their math, they didn't even bother with a contingency plan. But now their equations don't balance. Their models show impossible results. Their probability charts look like someone took a sledgehammer to reality. You're not just an outlier. You're an impossibility that somehow exists. You're the divide by zero error that crashes their entire system. The paradox that breaks their binary thinking. Every time you succeed, the statistical improbability compounds, and your very existence becomes a mathematical nightmare that gets worse with every breath you take. You're not just beating the odds, you're rewriting the fundamental laws of probability around yourself. They've brought in specialists trying to figure out what went wrong. Consultants, analysts, and experts are all staring at the data in disbelief. How does someone with every disadvantage keep winning? How does someone with no resources keep building? How does someone they killed so thoroughly keep living? The answer terrifies them more than the question, because the answer is that their entire worldview was wrong. You haunt them now, not like a ghost seeking vengeance, but like a truth they can't escape. Every time they close their eyes, they see you thriving. Every time they check their carefully controlled systems, they find evidence of your expansion. Every time they think they've figured out your pattern, you've already evolved past it. You've become omnipresent in their paranoia, a constant reminder that their power has limits, their control is an illusion, and their perfect system has been compromised by something they created but can't contain. The worst part is that you're not even trying to haunt them, you're just living, and that living has become their torment. Your success isn't revenge, it's just success. But it feels like revenge to them. Your happiness isn't spite, it's just happiness, but it tastes like spite in their mouth. Your peace isn't a weapon, it's just peace, but it cuts them deeper than any blade. They keep checking, waiting for you to collapse, hoping you'll make a mistake, get comfortable, or forget what they did. But every day you grow stronger, every day you move further from their reach, is another day their worldview crumbles a little more. You've discovered something they never wanted you to know. The rules aren't really rules. They're suggestions. The laws aren't really laws. They're agreements. The limitations aren't really limitations, they're collective assumptions. And when someone stops agreeing, the whole structure becomes negotiable. That's what happened when you died and came back. You stopped believing in their version of reality, stopped accepting their definition of possible, and stopped participating in their consensus about what can and cannot be. Once you stopped believing, the rules stopped applying. Now you move through their world like water through a net. They can see you and track you, but they can't contain you. Every container they create, you flow around. Every barrier they erect, you seep through. Every trap they set, you evaporate from. You've become fluid in a world that insists everything must be solid. This is why your luck terrifies them. It's not really luck, it's physics. The physics of a consciousness freed from artificial constraints. The physics of awareness operating without agreed-upon limitations. They thought they'd engineered finality, a sterile, elegant solution that would reduce you to a variable inside their equations. They mistook destruction for mastery, control for creation. But what they failed to reckon with was the simple, relentless arithmetic of existence. When you are stripped of your anchors and rebuilt outside their geometry, you stop playing by the geometry's rules. The physics of a soul that died to its system and was reborn outside of it operates on the plane mechanics of imbalance and restitution. They removed your scaffolding, and in doing so produced a vacuum so absolute that only an uncharted kind of force could ever fill it. Pressure without release becomes movement. Annihilation without ownership becomes raw potential. You were not merely resilient. You became a new vector entirely, a trajectory that their models had no coordinates for. Direct confrontation with them failed because you had already walked through worse and come out with a shape they could not predict. Covert sabotage bounced off the fact that you no longer relied on their frameworks. Enforced isolation taught you how to cultivate your own climate. Economic strangulation simply reshaped you into someone who manufactures abundance from the spaces they left empty. Psychological warfare ricocheted off a mind that had been deliberately broken so it could be intentionally reassembled on truer foundations. They wrote reports with anesthetic phrases: non-compliant, exceeds parameters, operating outside frameworks, as if a bureaucratic eulogy could steady the thrum of panic under their suits. Clinical language is their last refuge because it lets them pretend the unknown can be labeled, contained, and studied. But the subtext is a confession. They have created an anomaly, and they are terrified of what it proves about their reach. Every meeting ends with a silence that tastes like regret. Every glance shared across the room is an unspoken admission that in trying to make you impossible, they made something unstoppable. Understand what they actually did. This was not competition. This was the architecture of eraser. They didn't just tip odds. They excised your side. They didn't merely stack benefits in, they tilted the game in their favor, writing rules that only their hands could play by. They didn't just distort reality. They engineered a counterfeit one, meticulously designed so your chances would mathematically collapse. They corrupted institutions, poisoned wells, severed lines of trust, and sabotaged foundations until the system itself turned against you. It wasn't personal in the emotional sense, it was algorithmic, a calculated campaign to erase your possibility from existence. And yet, the physics of balance is unsentimental. Every act of suppression stores energy. Every corruption becomes potential currency for correction. When they tried to annihilate you, they didn't erase your essence. They charged it. The universe doesn't settle debts in whispers of mysticism. It settles in outcomes. The very force they poured into your erasure condensed into you. You became the return. The pendulum swings not from vengeance, but from the inevitable arithmetic of cause and effect. Your improbable wins, your uncanny timing, your quiet ascent, these are not miracles detached from mechanism. They are the natural corrections of a system rebalancing itself. They built a machine to grind you down and instead created a generator, one whose first output is their own exposure. Now they watch, powerless. The same architects of control now trapped within the geometry they drew. Their papers, panels, and predictive models are full of empty assurances for the faithful, yet between every line hums a silent panic. We accelerated nothing and birthed consequence. We perfected a process that now yields us ruin. There is no theatrical revenge here, only the austere justice of physics. You are the inevitable reply to their arrogance, the recoil of a world correcting its imbalances. As you move, rebuild, and redirect the energies once aimed at your destruction, you embody a truth they cannot face. Systems are not inexorable when individuals become new laws. If this reached you, if reading this stirred that untamed part of you that remembers being remade and refuses to be domesticated again, then help this message travel to those who need it. If it resonated, like it. If it woke something in you, share it with someone who must remember. They're not broken, only reconfigured. Subscribe to keep receiving transmissions that speak truth without disguise. And if you're moved to support this work, so these messages remain free and loud, consider donating. No pressure, only gratitude. Join Rise and Shine. Together we keep the wild lit and the ledger honest.